romper room where we ball a break. Big wins, big losses, all at stake. Party vibe, poker life, always crunk. Feel rich, feel broke, that's just the funk, yeah. Seen boys rise, seen boys fall. Bluffing stacks, risking it all. Got the queens, thought I locked the pot. Straight flush flip, now I'm feeling shot. It's the hustle, it's the grind, no time to assume. All in a full life in the romper room.
Welcome back to the Romper Room Poker Podcast. We want to start by congratulating Hannah Courtney on her back-to-back 3 cashes yesterday in AHL tournaments.
Wow. That's some serious run good.
Totally.
Yeah.
She's on fire. You know, speaking of fire, you requested a deep dive into some high-level tournament strategy, and I think we've got the perfect playbook for that. We're cracking open Harrington on Hold'em, expert strategy for no-limit tournaments, Vol 3, the Workbook. This isn't your typical poker strategy book.
Yeah, it's more like a masterclass in decision making. Harrington and Roberty, they walk us through actual hands played by pros, break down different choices, and even give you a scoring system to see how your thinking stacks up.
It's like having a poker brain trust in your pocket. So get ready to sharpen your tournament skills because we're about to analyze valuable insights. Let's jump right into problem 1. You're in an early stage tournament and boom, pocket kings.
It's the hand we all dream of, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The book highlights a common trap overplaying those big hands early on, just because you're excited to double up.
Yeah, I can definitely see myself falling into that trap. But why is that a problem? Kings are strong, aren't they?
Absolutely. But you got to think about it in terms of equity. Your chance of winning the hand, even if you're ahead pre-flop, getting a huge chunk of your stack in early might not be the best move.
So it's not just about the strength of your hand, it's about the situation and how much you're risking.
Exactly. The early stages of a tournament are about building your stack strategically, not necessarily going for broke right away. Now, let's fast forward to a hand featuring a clash of styles. Daniel Negreanu versus Sam Farha, problem 4 in the book.
Oh, this sounds juicy. 2 legends going head-to-head. What's the setup?
Okay, so Negreanu is holding 9-2 hours. Not exactly a premium hand. Farha, on the other hand, has him dominated with an ace. But here's the twist. Negreanu plays it super aggressively.
Aggression with a weak hand. Isn't that risky?
It is. But Negreanu understands something crucial implied odds. He's thinking about the potential winnings if he does hit his hand. By applying pressure, he maximizes his potential payout.
So even if he's behind, at the moment, he's setting himself up for a bigger win if the cards fall his way.
Precisely. It's a great example of how understanding your opponent's tendencies, in this case, Farha's more conservative style, can inform your strategy. Sometimes you have to play the player, not just the cards.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's not just about the hand you're holding, it's about the whole context of the game. Now, this next hand really caught my eye. Problem 6, featuring Jennifer Harmon and Corey Zeidman. It's all about avoiding the dreaded negative free roll.
Yes, the negative free roll.
Yeah.
A pitfall so many players stumble into. Imagine this. You're in early position with suited connectors and someone raises. You call dreaming of flopping a monster.
I can practically see the straight flush already.
But here's the catch. If you miss, you've risked a big chunk of your stack for a slim chance. That's the negative free roll. You're essentially setting yourself up for a potentially disastrous outcome.
So it's like chasing a lottery ticket with a significant portion of your chips.
You got it. In this specific hand, Harmon has pocket queens, a strong hand, but she faces a raise and a continuation bet. The temptation to chase that set is real, but she wisely recognizes the danger of the negative free roll.
So even with a strong hand like queens, sometimes folding is the smartest play.
Absolutely. Knowing when to fold, especially in the early stages, is a crucial skill in tournament poker. Harmon demonstrates excellent discipline, understanding the importance of pot odds, and recognizing that the risk outweighs the potential reward in this situation.
This is eye-opening. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of a hand and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Right. You need to balance your desire to win the current hand with the need to preserve your stack for future opportunities. Speaking of balancing aggression, let's move on to problem 15.
Perfect, because we're ready for some more strategic gems.
Okay, imagine this. You're deep in a tournament. Blinds are climbing, and you've got top pair with a good kicker. The big blind, known to be conservative, calls your pre-flop raise and continues to call on the flop and turn. Then, bam, a big bet on the river.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
Now you have to figure out if he's got the goods or if he's just representing a strong hand.
This is where the mental game of poker kicks into high gear. Harrington on Hold'em stresses the importance of reading your opponent, their tendencies and their betting patterns, and how their table image plays into their decisions.
So it's a delicate dance between trusting your reads And sticking to the math of pot odds.
It is, and there's rarely a clear-cut answer. That's why experience, observation, and a deep understanding of poker strategy are so crucial. The book encourages you to analyze different lines of thought, assess the risk versus reward of each choice, and ultimately make the best decision based on the information available.
I'm really starting to see how this workbook elevates your thinking beyond just basic hand rankings. It's about becoming a well-rounded strategic player, and that's exciting.
You're getting it, and we're just getting started. This book is packed with insights, and I can't wait to unpack more of them with you.
Me too. Stay tuned, because we're about to dive into the wild world of limpers and learn how to exploit their strategies.
Okay, so let's talk about limpers. Problem 17 throws you right into a multi-way pot with several limpers, and you're sitting there with pocket aces.
Oh, man. That's a situation that always makes me nervous. This is the best way to play it.
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm either going to scare everyone off or get trapped.
I get it. Limpers can be tricky, but understanding their strategy can be very profitable. First, let's talk about why players limp. For some, especially those with speculative hands like suited connectors or small pairs, limping is a way to see a cheap flop. They're hoping to hit it big without risking too much early.
Okay, so how do we attack these limpers when we have a premium hand like pocket aces? Do we just raise like normal?
Well, the book emphasizes the importance of bet sizing here. You want to bet big enough to discourage weaker hands from calling, but not so large that you scare away potential strong hands.
So finding that sweet spot is key. Is there like a general rule of thumb for bet sizing in these situations?
It really depends on the table dynamic and your opponent's tendencies. Against loose passive players, you might bet a little larger, aiming to isolate one or two players. Against tighter players, you might opt for a smaller raise, hoping to induce a re-raise from a strong hand.
That makes sense. You want to tailor your approach to the specific players you're up against. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Exactly. Reading the table and your opponents is just as crucial as understanding the math. Now let's shift gears and look at problem 9, where we see Phil Hellmuth masterfully navigating a multi-way pot with limpers.
Phil Hellmuth, the poker brat himself. What can we learn from his play?
This hand highlights how Hellmuth uses bet sizing to capitalize on implied odds, even with a marginal hand.
Implied odds, that's the potential money you can win on later streets if you hit your hand right.
Exactly. Hellmuth recognizes that even if he's not ahead currently, if he can control the betting and get players to invest in the pot, he can win big if his hand improves.
So he's not just thinking about winning the current pot. He's thinking several steps ahead, anticipating future betting rounds.
Right. He's a master of maximizing his potential winnings. In this specific hand, Hellmuth bets strategically to build the pot and encourage calls from players who might have weaker hands.
This is fascinating. It shows how a deep understanding of implied odds can completely change your approach to a hand. It's not just about the cards you're holding. It's about the potential future of the hand.
I agree. Now for our final hand analysis, let's move on to problem 10, featuring Phil Ivey in a tournament with a tight and passive table.
Okay, Phil Ivey, another poker legend. What's special about this hand?
This hand demonstrates the power of table image and how Ivey exploits it to pull off a masterful bluff.
Hold on, Ivey bluffing.
Yeah.
With what hand? He usually plays pretty tight.
He does, and that's exactly why this bluff works so well. He's holding 9c4, not a hand you'd typically bluff with, but Ivey understands the table dynamic. He knows these players are risk-averse and perceive him as a tough, aggressive player.
So he's using their perception of him to his advantage.
Precisely. Ivey raises pre-flop, gets a couple of callers, and continues betting on the flop and turn, even though he has virtually nothing.
That's bold. Did it work?
It did. His opponents, intimidated by his reputation and the tight table image he's cultivated, fold their hands, conceding the pot to Ivey.
Wow. He wins the pot without even showing his hand.
Yeah.
That's the power of a well-timed bluff, especially when you've built a solid table image.
It's a high-risk, high-reward play, but when executed properly, it can be incredibly effective. Ivey demonstrates that observation and understanding your opponent's perceptions are key to success in poker.
This deep dive into Harrington on Hold'em is blowing my mind. We've covered so much ground, from the importance of bet sizing and implied odds to the nuances of reading your opponents and exploiting table image.
And we've only just scratched the surface. This book is a treasure trove of strategic insights.
I can't wait to see what other gems we uncover in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've spent the last two parts breaking down these incredible hands from Harrington on Hold'em and seen how the pros think. You know, like how they approach these tricky situations.
Yeah, but like you were saying, now comes the real challenge, right? Applying these strategies to your own game.
Exactly. We don't want this to just be a theoretical exercise. You know, we can talk about Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu all day long, but
Right.
it doesn't really matter unless we can actually take these concepts and use them to improve our own play.
We want you to actually walk away from this deep dive with, actionable insights that you can use at the tables.
So let's recap some key takeaways.
All right, so first and foremost, understanding pot odds and implied odds.
It's fundamental.
Yeah. It's not just about the cards in your hand. It's about the math behind the decision. Are you getting the right price to call?
Exactly. You need to calculate like the ratio of the current pot to the cost of a call. And then also factor in potential future winnings if you hit your hand.
Right, like we saw with Daniel Negreanu. He wasn't afraid to apply aggression even with a weaker hand because he understood the concept of implied odds.
He was thinking about the long game, the potential for bigger wins down the line if his hand connected.
Right. And that brings us to another crucial point, right? Recognizing different playing styles.
Absolutely.
You might need to adjust your aggression, your bet sizing, or even like your overall approach based on who you're up against.
Are they loose? Are they aggressive? Are they tight and passive? And some players, like we saw with Phil Ivey, can just shift gears seamlessly, depending on the situation.
Exactly. Speaking of Phil Ivey, his bluff with 9c4 showcased the importance of reading your opponents and exploiting table image.
Yeah, he knew those players were tight and risk-averse.
Yeah.
So used their perception of him, as this tough player to his advantage.
It was brilliant, a brilliant display of psychological warfare.
And let's not forget about the power of bet sizing.
Right. As we saw with Phil Hellmuth, carefully calculating your bets can maximize your wins even with a marginal hand.
He used bet sizing to control the pot build, imply odds, and put his opponents in tough spots.
It's a skill that takes practice and a deep understanding of the game.
And Harrington on Hold'em really emphasizes that tournament poker is a multifaceted game.
Absolutely. It requires a holistic understanding of strategy, math, and psychology.
Yeah, the more you study and practice these concepts, the more equipped you'll be to navigate those, the complexities of tournament poker.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to experiment, to take calculated risks, and most importantly, to learn from your mistakes.
Every hand is a learning opportunity, whether you win or lose.
So as you head into your next tournament, I want you to ask yourself a few questions.
How can I apply these strategic concepts to my game? How can I read my opponents better? How can I make more profitable decisions?
Embrace the challenge, study hard, and remember, fortune favors the bold, but knowledge favors the prepared.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into expert poker strategy. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that will help you crush your next tournament.
Until next time, good luck at the tables.
Hey, poker lovers! Are you ready to raise the stakes and deal yourself into some serious fun? Then step into the Romper Room, the place where poker dreams come true. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, the Romper Room has the games for you. We've got cash games for the high rollers and tournaments that'll have you on the edge of your seat. The action's hot, the stakes are high, and the laughs are endless. Join us today at the Romper Room, where the chips are always flying and the fun never stops. For all the details and to get in on the action, just drop us a line at romperroompoker@gmail.com. Don't miss out. Your seat at the table is waiting. It's time to play Romper Room style. Let's go.